Biblio Studio presents The Creator of Realities, Awaken Your Consciousness of Being. Chapter 1. The Silent Awakening of Consciousness. Imagine for a moment that you are standing in front of a mirror. Not just any mirror, but one that doesn't reflect your face. Rather, it reflects your thoughts, your fears, and your most intimate desires. What would you see there? A person limited by circumstances, or a being with an ocean of possibilities waiting to be explored? I want you to feel at ease in this conversation. I am not here as a distant lecturer, nor as someone speaking from a pedestal. I am here as that friend who sits with you under a tree, calmly, and begins to share truths you may have already suspected, but had never stopped to listen to in silence. Consciousness, that mysterious something that allows you to say I am, is the key that opens all doors. But I am not referring to moral consciousness of right and wrong. I mean that intimate state of becoming aware that you exist, that you can observe your own thoughts and decide where to direct them. Up until now, you may have believed that circumstances rule, that the world dictates your destiny. But today, I want to tell you something that will change the way you look at yourself. You are not a victim of life. You are the silent author who shapes it. And you do so not with brute force, but with what we call consciousness. Centuries ago, in a monastery hidden in the Anatolian mountains, a Sufi master wrote in a worn manuscript, "The world is not what you see, but what you hold within yourself as truth. The beggar and the king drink from the same river, but they do not drink with the same thirst." Isn't that astonishing? That anonymous sage understood that the difference between a life of scarcity and a life of fulfillment is not outside, but in the inner vessel with which we drink from existence. If your consciousness is empty of faith in yourself, any spring will seem dry. Your outer life is a reflection of what you admit as real within yourself. Let me ask you a question that almost no one dares to answer sincerely. What do you truly think of yourself when no one is watching? That silent thought, sometimes painful, sometimes proud, is more powerful than all your external actions. Because sooner or later, what you believe about yourself manifests. It's no coincidence. Ancient traditions agree on this. The Stoics said that the mind colors the world. The Hebrew mystics affirmed that the secret name of God is I am. And even in Chinese literature, we find a forgotten proverb. The small man follows the river, the wise man channels it. All point to the same truth. You are the one who determines the course of your life by choosing how to see yourself and how to name yourself. Let me tell you a brief but revealing story. In a small Japanese village, there lived a farmer who constantly complained about his bad luck. An elderly master, tired of hearing him, handed him an empty bowl and said, "Every morning before drinking water, say, 'I am abundance.'" The farmer laughed, thinking it was nonsense, but out of respect, he did it. Day after day, he repeated those words. Over time, his attitude changed. He no longer saw his plot as poor, but as fertile land. He began to work it with dedication, improve his techniques, and share with others. Years later, that farmer was the most prosperous in the village. Was it magic? Of course not. It was consciousness. It was the power of I am put into action. You also have a bowl, even if you don't see it. Every thought with which you name yourself is the water with which you drink your life. Who are you now? I want you to observe yourself without judgment, with complete honesty. Answer silently. What is your usual definition of yourself? Do you say, "I am weak, I am forgetful, I am unlucky"? Each of those phrases is like a seed you throw into the field of your consciousness, and the soil does not discriminate. it germinates both weeds and golden wheat. So the challenge I propose is simple yet demanding. Consciously choose what seeds you plant when you speak to yourself. You are probably thinking, it sounds inspiring, but how do I apply it in my daily life? Let me give you a simple exercise, almost like a game. Every time you say I am followed by something negative, stop, breathe. Correct that phrase. Replace it with an affirmation that brings you closer to who you wish to be. Example: you say, I am clumsy with words. Immediately change it to, I am a learner in growth. Each day I express myself better. Do you see? It's not about deceiving yourself. It's about training your consciousness to make room for new possibilities. Many people go through life believing that to be is synonymous with what others told them they were. Parents, teachers, friends, even enemies, all left labels on your skin. But those labels are not you. The true human error is trusting external voices more than the inner voice. Your inner teacher always whispers, you are greater than you think. I want you to make an intimate commitment, not with me, not with the world, but with yourself. Promise yourself that from today on, you will pay attention to the way you name yourself. Make a sacred pact never again to repeat words that belittle or chain you. Because the silent awakening of consciousness begins like this, with a small, I am planted in the right garden. Chapter 2. Consciousness as an invisible stage. Now that we have opened the door with the I am, I want to take you one step further. Imagine your life is a play. Characters enter and exit. Friends, family, colleagues, strangers. Sometimes there's comedy, sometimes drama, and sometimes silence. But tell me, who wrote the script? Who decided the set, the lighting, and the outcome of each act? You might believe it's circumstances, chance, or even a destiny written down somewhere mysterious. But let me reveal a truth few dare to admit. Your consciousness is the stage where everything happens. Nothing presents itself to you without first having existed as a possibility inside you. A 19th century Hungarian thinker, Laszlo Medniansky, wrote in one of his journals something that went unnoticed for decades. The landscape I paint is not of the fields, but of my mood. If I am gloomy, even the brightest sun turns gray on my canvas. That painter, perhaps unintentionally, gave us an essential key. We see life not as it is, but as we are. Your thoughts, your beliefs, and your emotions color every experience you live. If you're convinced the world is hostile, you will see threats around every corner. If you believe life is generous, you will find opportunities even in setbacks. Your consciousness is, then, a map. And like any map, it leads you toward the places you have drawn on it, even if you are sometimes not aware that you drew them. The trap of the senses. Your senses can deceive you. They show you the apparent, not the essential. A curious example occurred in 1896 when psychologist Joseph Jastrow presented a drawing that could be seen as either a duck or a rabbit. At first, people argued about which animal was the real one, but Jastrow explained that both were there. What changed was the way of looking. The same happens with your life. Two people can go through the same situation, and while one feels defeated, the other discovers an opportunity for transformation. What changed? Each one's inner stage. You do not live in the external world. You live in your interpretation of it. Let me tell you an anecdote from ancient Greece, rarely cited in manuals. It is said that Aeschylus, the great dramatist, used to consult an oracle in Sicily. One day, worried about the failure of one of his plays, he asked what he must do to succeed. The oracle answered, "Change your vision of yourself, not your words." Aeschylus was indignant at first. How could a poet change his fate only by the way he saw himself? But years later, after a period of deep introspection, he wrote some of the most powerful tragedies in history. It wasn't because he mastered technique more than before, but because his consciousness had changed. The oracle was right. Your script depends on how you conceive yourself, not solely on what you do. Now I want to propose a simple experiment. Think of a situation you want to transform. Your relationship with someone, your financial situation, your personal confidence. Close your eyes and do the following. Imagine it has already changed. But don't do so as if you were watching a movie. Do it as if you were inside it. What do you feel? What do you think? How do you breathe? This is your inner laboratory. This is where the true alchemy of life happens. And the most astonishing thing is that when you practice it consistently, your external world begins to align with that inner state. It's not magic, it's law. What you sustain in consciousness seeks to express itself in experience. I remember the story of a young calligraphy apprentice in China who grew frustrated because his writing never equaled his master's. After months of practice, desperate, he asked for a quick answer. The master told him, "The ink obeys the mind, not the hand. Change your state and your calligraphy will change." The student did not understand at first, but over time, by practicing calm and inner confidence, his calligraphy became fluid and harmonious. You and I don't practice calligraphy, but we are writing something more important, the shape of our lives. And that writing also obeys, not force, but the state of consciousness we cultivate. So far, we have seen that your consciousness is stage, map, and laboratory. But let me add one more thing. It is also the key to unity. What do I mean? That you are not separate from your world. Believing that the external and the internal are two distinct realms is like thinking the reflection in the water and the sky are unrelated things. Everything is intertwined. When you change inside, outside adjusts. When you renew yourself within, your relationships, opportunities, and circumstances transform like dominoes falling into perfect order. Your role in this play. I want you to feel this deeply. You are not here to be a passive spectator of your life. You are author, director, and protagonist. And if up to now the script has not convinced you, remember that you can always rewrite it. Every conscious thought is a new line in your script. Every sustained emotion is a light that changes the scene. The next time you catch yourself saying, "That's life," correct it. This is the life I'm performing right now on my inner stage. But I can rehearse another play. From now on, when you face a problem, don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Ask instead, "What inner state am I sustaining that makes this appear?" That simple question will open paths that until now seemed impossible. Chapter 3. The Art of Assuming. Now that you understand your consciousness is stage, map, and laboratory, I want to give you one of the most powerful tools that exist, the art of assuming. Perhaps the word sounds too common, but here I'm not talking about assuming as in guessing without proof. I'm talking about assuming with conviction, clothing yourself inwardly with the garment of what you wish to be, even if your eyes don't yet see it. Let me speak clearly. Life does not give you what you ask for. It gives you what you assume as your own. The secret behind the curtain. In the 17th century, a Spanish playwright named Agustín Moreto wrote in one of his comedies a phrase that, although brief, carries a great teaching. What is pretended consistently ends up becoming true. The audience of his time took it as a comment on social hypocrisy. But if we read it differently, we find something deeper. What we persistently adopt in our consciousness, even if it seems feigned at first, eventually becomes real. The art of assuming consists precisely in this: to take emotional ownership of a new identity before the world has evidence of it. Think of an actor before stepping on stage. He doesn't wait for the audience's applause to transform into his character. He rehearses in silence, repeats gestures, memorizes lines, until he no longer acts, he is. The same happens with you. If you want to be more confident, more prosperous, more free, don't wait for the world to give you a signal. Rehearse it within yourself. Walk as that person, think as that person, speak to yourself as if you already were that person. This silent rehearsal is more powerful than you imagine, because life, like an invisible director, arranges the scenery so that what you assume within finds its echo outside. There is a little-known story about Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist who survived the Nazi concentration camps. In his memoirs, he told of one prisoner who, even in inhuman conditions, repeated every day, "I am destined to see my family again in freedom." Others considered him naive, but that man kept that assumption alive like a flame. Incredibly, he survived, against all odds, and was reunited with his loved ones. Was it luck? Was it physical resilience? Perhaps. But Frankl was convinced it was the strength of that unshakable assumption that gave him meaning and sustained him. What you assume in your consciousness can sustain you even in the worst circumstances. How do you assume? I know you're now asking, "All right, teacher, but how do I do this in my daily life?" Listen carefully, because here we're going to practice, not just theorize. 1. Choose your desired state. This isn't about aimless fantasy. Ask yourself, who do I want to be now? Not 20 years from now, but today. 2. Feel it as real. Close your eyes and live as if you already were in that state. Imagine conversations, reactions, emotions. Don't observe it from the outside. Live it from within. 3. Speak from that place. Every time you use "I am," make sure it aligns with your new identity. 4. Persist effortlessly. It's not about tense repetition, but about staying in that inner atmosphere as naturally as breathing new air. With these steps, the art of assuming becomes daily practice, like brushing your teeth or putting on your shoes. In the 13th century, a Tibetan monk named Milarepa used to retreat into the mountains to meditate. Villagers asked him how he endured the cold and solitude. His answer was baffling. "I don't assume I am in the mountain. I assume I am the mountain." Do you understand? It's not resistance, it's identification. When you unite inwardly with what you desire, there is no struggle. You become it. Many fail in this art because they practice it as if playing dress-up for a few minutes, then return to their old identity. They believe that pretending during a morning affirmation is enough. But as soon as they face a challenge, they assume themselves once again as weak, poor, or incapable. The mistake is not in the technique, but in the lack of persistence. What you assume must become your habitual state, not a temporary parenthesis. Let me tell you a short story of a Zen disciple. He complained that although he meditated every morning repeating, "I am peace," once he went to the marketplace, he became angry at anyone who pushed him. His master told him, "Stop saying, 'I am peace,' only in the temple. Assume you are peace in the marketplace too." The disciple then understood that the true art of assuming does not happen in the calm of meditation, but in the friction of everyday life. I want you to do a small experiment for the next week. Every morning, Before leaving your home, choose a state and assume it. It could be confidence, serenity, gratitude. Live the day as if you were already the embodiment of that state. No matter what happens outside, stay in your role. You will see how, little by little, life begins to respond to you differently. Listen closely. This is not a game of self-deception. It is not about forcing yourself to believe in something that doesn't exist. It is about recognizing that consciousness is creative and that what you assume within yourself opens a channel in reality to manifest. So, next time you doubt, ask yourself, from where am I assuming now? From fear or from possibility? I want you to keep this phrase in your heart. What I assume, assumes me. That is, when you choose a state and embrace it, that state surrounds you and begins to act through you. From now on, stop waiting for external proof before believing. Assume first, and the proof will come later. Chapter 4. Desire as the soul's compass. So far we have spoken about consciousness and about assuming, but now I want to lead you to a force that has been burning within you since birth, desire. Many misunderstand it. They believe that to desire is a sign of lack or weakness, as if a wise person should eliminate every longing in order to reach peace. But let me correct that idea. Desire is not your enemy. It is your compass. Desire is the silent signal of where your consciousness wants to expand. If you ignore it, you dim your own light. If you understand it, it becomes the spark that ignites your transformation. The myth of suppressing desires. At one time, some philosophers believed that wisdom consisted in renouncing all desire. They said, if you want nothing, nothing can harm you. But that is only half the truth. Imagine a sailboat in the middle of the sea with no wind and no course. What would happen? It would drift, unable to move forward. That is exactly what happens to someone who eliminates all desire. They live in an apparent calm but remain stagnant. The true art is not to suffocate desire, but to purify it and direct it. It is not to stop wanting, but to learn to want with purpose. In the 18th century, a Polish poet, Franciszek Karpiński, wrote, "Desire is the prayer of the blood." What a powerful image. It is as if life itself were speaking through what you long for. Your authentic desires are not shallow whims, but inner calls to expand your being. The key question is, do you listen to those prayers, or do you smother them under habit, fear, and resignation? Let me tell you a short story. In a small town, there lived a young baker who each day repeated the same routine of kneading, baking, and selling. But every night, when he closed his eyes, he felt a burning desire to be a musician. Habit told him, "You are a baker, don't dream." Desire whispered, "You have music in your veins." Over time, he dared to follow his compass. He studied, practiced, and years later became a recognized pianist. Not because he had more talent than others, but because he honored his desire instead of drowning it in routine. Now I ask you, how many desires have you silenced in your life because habit told you they weren't practical? Look closely. Every desire carries within itself the seed of its fulfillment. You would not long for something if within you there were not already the capacity to achieve it. It's like the seed of an apple tree. Why does it dream of bearing fruit? Because within it already lies the code to do so. The same is true of you. If you desire freedom, love, creation, it is because those possibilities already exist within you, waiting to be cultivated. The Master and the Lamp. A Sufi story tells of a disciple who complained to his master saying, "I feel desires that torture me. Wouldn't it be better to extinguish them? The master took an oil lamp and asked him, "If this lamp desires to burn, do you blame it for that?" "No," the disciple replied, "because it was made to give light." "Then," said the master, "why do you blame your heart for desiring? It was made to expand." The problem is not desire. The problem arises when you direct it toward things that do not nourish you, like a lamp burning with dirty oil. Purifying desire. How can you tell whether your desire is authentic or superficial? There is a simple test. An authentic desire expands you, makes you feel alive even before it is fulfilled. A superficial desire enslaves you, shrinks you, makes you feel empty even when you achieve it. Example: desiring a title just to impress others may leave you dissatisfied. But desiring to learn and grow in your art, even if no one applauds, fills you with energy from the start. Your task is to discern which desire is the voice of your soul and which is the noise of your ego. The power of feeding the right one. I want you to imagine yourself with two animals inside, one hungry for expansion and another anxious for distractions. Which one do you feed more? The answer determines your destiny. An old Cherokee elder told his grandchildren, "Inside each of us live two wolves, one of fear and resignation, the other of trust and desire. The one that wins is the one you feed." Your life is the reflection of which of those wolves receives most of your daily attention. Practical exercise. This week, write down in a notebook the desires that beat most strongly within you. Don't censor them. Then, one by one, ask yourself, does this desire shrink me or expand me? Does it tie me to others' judgment or bring me closer to my true voice? The ones that answer with expansion are the compasses you must follow. Make yourself an intimate promise. You will no longer despise an authentic desire. You may not yet know how to fulfill it. It may seem impossible, but if it was born in you, it deserves respect. Remember, desire is your compass. It doesn't show you the whole path, but it does show you the right direction. If you follow it with consistency, life will take care of unfolding the details. Engrave this teaching within yourself. Desire is not absence, it is announcement. When you feel it, don't think, "I lack something." Think instead, "Something that already exists within me is being revealed and seeks to manifest." In this way, you will stop seeing your longings as chains and begin to live them as wings. Chapter 5. The Truth That Sets You Free. We have already spoken about consciousness, about assuming, and about desire as the compass. But now we need to take a crucial step, distinguishing between the truth that binds and the truth that sets free. Because not all truth is the same. Some are like invisible chains, while others are keys that open doors. The challenge lies in recognizing which is which. The trap of inherited truths. Since childhood, you have been receiving truths from your family, school, culture, and even religion. Some were useful. Don't touch fire, it burns. But others were shackles in disguise. You are not good enough. That dream is impossible for someone like you. The world is cruel and cannot be changed. Do you see? Those repeated phrases became inherited truths that shaped your consciousness. And the worst part is that many times we accept them without questioning. What I want to teach you today is that not every truth you receive deserves to remain in your life. The difference between the real and the true. You may ask, but isn't truth always truth? Here is the nuance. The real is what happens, what you can perceive right now. The true is what transcends, what liberates you. For example, someone may say, "I am ruined." That is a temporary reality, but not necessarily the truth. The liberating truth is, I am capable of rebuilding myself. I carry within me the source of creation. Reality describes a passing state. Truth connects you with your eternal potential. In the 16th century, a Portuguese navigator named João de Castro was imprisoned in India. For months he remained chained in a dark cell. One day, he wrote on a piece of parchment, "My chains are real, but they are not my truth. The truth is that I am still a navigator, even if my feet do not touch the deck of a ship." That conviction sustained him until his release, and when he returned to Lisbon, the first thing he did was embark again. Do you see the difference? The chains were real, but the liberating truth was his inner identity. A medieval Arab physician, Ibn Sina, Avicenna, said, "Truth is medicine for the sick soul." He was not speaking only of medical diagnoses, but of the power to change how a person perceives themselves. One who believes they are condemned withers. One who discovers a truth that expands them begins to heal, even if their body is still weak. That is why I insist. The right truth does not just inform, it transforms. How to find the truth that sets free. Here is a simple guide. Each time you tell yourself something, ask, does this chain me or expand me? Does this limit me or open possibilities? Does this make me feel small or remind me that I am part of something greater? If what you think of yourself shrinks you, it is not the truth, it is only a disguised belief. A disciple once asked a Taoist master, "How do I know if a belief is true?" The master showed him a dirty mirror and said, "Look, what do you see?" "Barely a blurry reflection," the disciple replied. "Then clean the mirror." The true always lets you see yourself more clearly, not more dimly. The same happens with your thoughts. The truth that sets free gives you clarity and strength, not confusion or resignation. Think of someone who has lost their job. Reality may say, "You no longer have work," but if they accept that as the only truth, they will sink. Instead, if they discover a liberating truth, "I have skills, I can create new opportunities, this is a transition and not an end," then that truth propels them forward. Do you notice? What liberates is not denying reality, but giving it new meaning. Let me warn you of something. Half-truths are the most dangerous. For example, someone may say, "The world is full of injustice." That is partly true, but if you stop there, you become paralyzed. The complete truth is, yes, there are injustices, and within me also lies the capacity to bring justice and light. The half-truth enslaves, the complete truth sets free. Practical exercise. I propose an exercise. Take 3 limiting phrases you have repeated recently. For example, "I'm not good at this," "I always fail," "I have no luck." Now, rewrite them as liberating truths. I am learning, and every day I improve. Every attempt brings me closer to success. Luck is the sum of preparation and opportunity, and I am preparing myself. Do this exercise for a week and observe how your energy changes. I want you to keep something deep within. The truth that does not set you free is not the ultimate truth. Your task as a student of consciousness is to always seek that perspective that makes you bigger, braver, and more in charge of yourself. Never forget, the chains may be real, but they are never your truth. Chapter 6. Attention as a creative force. I want you to understand this clearly. What dominates your attention dominates your existence. Many believe that the most important resource of the human being is time, but that isn't true. What good are hours and hours if your attention is scattered, trapped in worries or distractions? True wealth lies in your ability to direct attention. That's why I say attention is the currency with which you purchase your reality. Whatever you pay with it, you experience. In 1907, the Indian botanist Jagadish Chandra Bose carried out a little-known experiment. He placed two identical plants under similar conditions. To one, he spoke with affection and care. The other, he completely ignored. Both received water and sunlight. The result? The first blossomed with vigor, the second withered before its time. What made the difference? Attention. Though science still debates these effects, the truth is that your life works the same way. What you give attention to flourishes, what you neglect withers. We live in an age where everything competes for your attention. Notifications, screens, conversations, worries. But I want to tell you something uncomfortable. Every time you give away your attention unconsciously, you surrender your creative power. It's as if someone came every day to steal gold coins from you and you handed them over without protest. In the end, when you want to build your inner house, you will discover you have nothing to pay with. A Japanese story tells of an archery apprentice who asked his master how to always hit the target. The master replied, "Your problem is not the arrow, it is the gaze. Where your attention breaks, your shot strays." The same is true for you. No matter how great your desire or how noble your purpose, if your attention is scattered, your life veers off course. I want you to imagine a magnifying glass under the sun. The light is always present, but only when it passes through that focused lens does it become capable of igniting fire. That is how your consciousness works. It is always there, but only when you focus your attention does it turn into a force able to transform. How to train attention. Now I want to give you practical tools. Attention, like a muscle, can be trained. 1. The day's reversal exercise. Before sleeping, mentally review your day in reverse order, from the last moment back to the first. This strengthens your ability to direct the mind without letting it wander. 2. The conscious minute. Several times a day, pause for 1 minute and focus all your attention on your breathing. Don't fight thoughts. Just return again and again to the air going in and out. 3. Focus on the fulfilled desire. Choose a state you want to experience, health, confidence, serenity, and hold your attention on the feeling that you already live it. Do it calmly, without tension, like someone enjoying a melody. With these simple exercises, you will be training the most valuable skill of your life. The Czech philosopher Ladislav Klima wrote, "True freedom is not doing what you want, but being able to direct your attention toward what you choose." Think about this. You are not free if your mind lets itself be dragged by every external noise. You are free only when you consciously decide what deserves your inner gaze. Imagine you want to improve your relationship with someone close. If your attention is on their flaws, you will see daily reasons to be upset. But if you focus your attention on their virtues, you will begin to notice details that previously went unnoticed. Over time, that relationship will change. Do you understand? The person didn't change, your attention did, and with it, your experience. Attention and creation. I want you to engrave this. Your attention is the chisel with which you sculpt the raw material of consciousness. Every time you sustain an image, a state, an emotion in your attention, you are shaping the reality to come. It's not about blind effort, but about consistency. Just as water falling again and again on rock eventually carves a path, so your repeated attention opens channels in existence. I want to leave you with a simple practice. Over the next few days, observe where you spend your attention. Write it down. You will see that much of it goes to useless thoughts or fruitless worries. Then, consciously decide to redirect that attention toward what you want to create. Do it calmly, like someone moving a lighthouse to illuminate a new harbor. Remember, attention doesn't just observe, it creates. And what you focus on persistently becomes your world. Chapter 7. Imagination as the workshop of the invisible. We have spoken about consciousness, desire, attention. But now it is time for a tool that has long been misunderstood and underestimated: imagination. Many believe imagination is a child's game, a luxury for artists, or a distraction for dreamers. But I want you to see it differently. Imagination is the secret workshop where you craft your future. At school you may have been told, stop imagining, return to reality. But what they didn't tell you is that everything you now call reality was once imagination in someone's mind. The lamp that lights your room, the bridge that connects two cities, the music you listen to, all of it existed first as imagination before taking form. So why despise the most powerful tool you possess? I want you to see your imagination as an invisible workshop. There, you are architect, painter, and sculptor all at once. Each image you vividly hold in your mind is like a sketch that, sooner or later, seeks to become a finished masterpiece. The problem is that most people use that workshop to manufacture worries instead of possibilities. They imagine accidents, failures, arguments, and then they are surprised when those things show up in their lives. Do you see? Imagination creates both what is desired and what is feared. That is why you must learn to direct it wisely. In the 19th century, a young French engineer named Ferdinand de Lesseps fell gravely ill while traveling. As he convalesced, he obsessively imagined a canal linking the Mediterranean with the Red Sea. Decades later, that vision became the Suez Canal, one of the most impressive feats in history. Was it coincidence? Not at all. It was the power of sustained imagination, nurtured and polished day after day until it became tangible. Imagination is not fantasy. Engrave this in your mind. Fantasy distracts you. Creative imagination transforms you. Fantasy is like a passing cloud. Creative imagination is like a river carving its course. The difference lies in the intensity and persistence with which you hold an inner image until you feel it as real. It is not enough to imagine coldly, as if projecting a movie onto a wall. The key is to feel within yourself the emotion of that fulfilled image. If you imagine health, feel yourself already walking lightly. If you imagine prosperity, feel the security and gratitude of one who already lives in abundance. If you imagine reconciliation, experience the peace of that embrace. Emotion is the color that brings life to your inner painting. The master of conscious dreaming. It is said that a Sufi master taught his disciples to sleep with noble images. Before closing their eyes, he asked them to vividly imagine the state they wished to live in. According to him, during sleep, those images sank deep into the soul and sprouted like seeds. Today, neuroscience confirms that what you think of last before sleeping influences your subconscious mind. So, this ancient advice is also a practical exercise for you. Use your nights as a field for planting imagination. In the 14th century, an Icelandic navigator named Floki Vilgerdarson was ridiculed for insisting that land lay beyond the open sea. No one believed him. But Floki never stopped imagining that island. He embarked on a risky voyage and ended up discovering what we now call Iceland. Imagine the inner strength required to sustain his vision when everyone called him mad. That is the difference between shallow dreaming and imagining with conviction. How to use imagination in your life. Let me guide you with concrete steps. 1. Plant a clear image. Don't just say, "I want success." Imagine the exact scene. What are you doing? Where are you? Who is with you? What do you feel? 2. Engage your senses. Hear the sounds, smell the scents, touch the textures. The richer the scene, the more real it becomes to your mind. 3. Hold it calmly. It's not about forcing, it's about enjoying it like someone admiring a beautiful painting. 4. Repeat consistently. A single spark goes out, but a fire fed day after day lights the entire room. The enemy of imagination, doubt. I want to be honest with you. Doubt is the termite that eats away at the wood of imagination. Each time you think, what if it doesn't work? You weaken your inner construction. That's why it is vital to protect your workshop. When doubt appears, don't fight it with fury. Simply replace it with a new, powerful image. Practical exercise. For the next 7 days, spend 5 minutes every morning and every night imagining a scene that represents the fulfillment of your greatest current desire. Do it with emotion, with calm, with gratitude. Don't seek immediate signs. Just trust that you are sowing in your invisible workshop what you will soon see manifested outside. Engrave this phrase within yourself. Imagination is not an escape from reality. It is the secret blueprint where the future reality is designed. Your whole life, from the simplest to the grandest, begins with what you allow to be born in your imagination. So from now on, never despise your ability to dream. Use it as the craftsman uses his hands, to give form to the invisible until it becomes visible. Chapter 8. Life as Conscious Creation. We have walked a deep path together. You discovered your consciousness as a stage, learned the art of assuming, understood desire as a compass, truth as a liberator, the power of attention and imagination as the workshop of the invisible. Now it is time to take the most important step. To unite all of this in your daily life and live as a conscious creator. Many think these teachings are beautiful, but belong to an abstract realm, far from practical life. As if consciousness were only useful for meditating in silence, but not for paying bills, raising children, or facing difficulties. Let me correct that. Consciousness is not a spiritual luxury. It is the foundation of your daily existence. What you think of yourself when you wake up, how you respond in an argument, how you interpret a loss or a triumph, all of it is conscious or unconscious creation. I want you to remember something you may have already intuited. Life is a mirror, not a mural. The mural is fixed, painted once and for all. The mirror reflects whatever you place in front of it. If your inner state is fear, life reflects circumstances that confirm it. If your state is trust, the mirror returns faces and opportunities vibrating with that trust. That's why the essential thing is not to manipulate the mirror, but to take care of what you put before it. In a Moroccan village, they told the story of a weaver who always produced incomplete tapestries. His customers complained, "Threads are missing, colors are missing." An elder observed him one day and said, "Your mistake is not in the loom, but in your mind. You always imagine the tapestry half done, and that is what your hands weave." The weaver then learned to visualize each work as finished before beginning. From that day on, his tapestries became famous. The teaching? Your life is a tapestry. If you imagine it incomplete, that is how you will live it. If you imagine it whole, that is how it will be woven. You may ask, and what about pain, illness, losses? Are those also my creations? Listen closely. Human life includes challenges, yes, but your power does not lie in avoiding them. It lies in deciding from which consciousness you face them. The same obstacle can be the end for one who assumes themselves a victim, or the beginning of a transformation for one who assumes themselves a creator. Pain is real, but the meaning you give it arises from your consciousness. A simple daily compass. I want to propose a simple routine, a kind of daily compass for living as a conscious creator. Morning, I choose who I am. Upon waking, take a few minutes to affirm, "Today I am," and complete it with the identity you wish to assume. Do it calmly, not as a mechanical slogan, but as an intimate declaration. Day, I direct my attention. Throughout your activities, observe where your attention strays. If it drifts toward worry or judgment, bring it back to the state you chose in the morning. Night, I review my creation. Before sleeping, review your day and ask, what did I sow today in my consciousness? Then imagine tomorrow already lived as you desire. If you apply this consistently, you will begin to experience changes that may seem miraculous, though in reality, they are natural laws of your inner being. The power of constancy. An anonymous Hindu sage once wrote in a manuscript found in Benares, "The river does not cut the rock by its force, but by its constancy." Your consciousness works the same way. You don't need a titanic effort, only constancy in your new state. Day by day, drop by drop, your outer life aligns with your inner life. Never forget that within you lies a treasure no one can steal, your imagination. As long as you have the ability to close your eyes and create an inner state, you will never be defeated. Empires fall, circumstances change, but your invisible workshop remains intact. That is your refuge and your power. I want to speak to you as if we were face to face. Understand that this book is not an end, but a beginning. You are not a passive reader. You are the protagonist of this teaching. Every word you received here is a seed, but the soil is you. Only you can water it with practice, persistence, and love for your own being. Do not wait for the world to change first. Be the change in your consciousness and watch life respond like a faithful echo. The legacy you can leave. Imagine for a moment that someone close to you observes your transformation. They will see how you speak differently, how you react with greater calm, how you advance with confidence, and perhaps they will ask themselves, what has changed in them? That will be your legacy, to demonstrate, through your example, that life can be lived as conscious creation and not as blind accident. Now I will leave you with a phrase that condenses this entire path. Consciousness is not the spectator of your life, it is the author of your story. From now on, walk knowing you are not trapped in a fixed destiny. Each day is a blank page. Each conscious thought is a line written. Each sustained emotion is a chapter taking shape. And you, dear reader, are no longer just a student. You are now a creator. Make your life the most beautiful work your consciousness can imagine. You have been listening to The Creator of Realities, Awaken Your Consciousness of Being, a work created by Oscar Gonzalez for Biblio Studio. Thank you for listening.